Okay, we're recording, so I just need to get quick verbal confirmation that it's all right for us to record you.
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. So today we're interviewing Kate Giroux. This is a Langston Boulevard Legacy Business interview conducted by the Langston Boulevard Alliance and made possible by a historic preservation grant from Arlington County, Virginia. Today is April 9th, 2004. We are at MacPherson's Opticians. My name is Bennett King, and I'm a research assistant for Langston Boulevard Alliance. So we'll start with just a brief introduction about yourself. So let's start with your name and where you grew up, kind of where you're from, that type of stuff.
Absolutely. My name is Kate Giroux. I was born in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And like most families in the 50s, started to move out of D.C. into the suburbs.
Yeah.
My parents settled here. And I have lived within 20 miles of my birthplace my entire life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was raised in Arlington.
Okay. You're still in Arlington area?
No, we had to move out to Alexandria. We need
Okay.
a little more acreage than we could afford here.
Yeah, that's what I hear. We'll talk about that too.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so you grew up in the area. You saw this neighborhood change quite a bit then.
Absolutely.
Can you tell me a little bit about, like, when you were growing up, tell me about, like, the Langston Boulevard area?
Yeah, well, at that time, of course, it was Lee Highway.
Yeah.
And my first home here, my family home, was minutes from here on North Harrison Street. And this was truly a very sleepy little southern town.
Yeah.
We, as a kid, if we wanted to go to the dentist or see a doctor, we had to go into D.C.
Yeah.
So I distinctly and will forever remember coming across Key Bridge from D.C. when it was pawn shops and one-level buildings, nothing like it is
Oh, down
now.
by Key Bridge it was?
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it was just nothing. And then, you know, in the 60s, mid-60s to 70s, things started to change. What is now Ballston Commons,
Yeah.
it was Parkington. We didn't have a big grocery store until the Giant opened its very first location over in Parkington.
Wow.
So it was just a very different lifestyle. And as things started to change and balloon up, things got pushed more westward in Arlington.
Okay.
So the whole Key Bridge area, Clarendon now is
Yeah.
just... in fact, a friend of ours bought a condo about 10 years ago on Fairfax Drive, and we went out on the balcony, and I looked out and I said, wow, if I didn't know where I was, I wouldn't know where I was.
Yeah.
The landscape has changed so
Yeah,
much.
it's gotten very vertical down there.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, tell us a little bit about your family. What were they doing in the neighborhood? What did they do for a living? That type of stuff.
Like most parents of that era, they were in New York when war broke out. My father was drafted. He was an attorney with the military.
Okay.
My mother was a scriptwriter for CBS and NBC
Okay.
for Death Valley Days, The Kate Smith Show, all of these old time. In fact, some of her scripts are going to be donated to the Smithsonian.
Oh,
They
very
want
cool.
them.
Yeah.
So anyway, so the deal was Dad was going to come here and be stationed at the Pentagon for just a year. And the folks at CBS really wanted my mom back. So they said they would hold her job. And when he wanted to go back, then the job would be out.
Yeah.
The rest is history. They never left. So
what did she do here once you...
what did she do?
Yeah.
She was a legal secretary for a while, and as the family got bigger and bigger and bigger, she became more of a full-time mom.
Okay.
And Dad moved in to work for NASA as their chief litigator for a lot of programs like the Vanguard missile program. He was the chief negotiator for that.
So you said a big family? How
Three.
many? Three?
There were three.
Big enough for mom to be busy.
Big enough, plenty big enough, yeah.
Once they outnumber the parents, then it's no longer fair,
That
right?
is not a fair fight. You're right. You're right.
Okay, so let's talk about a little bit how you got into this industry. What was the path you went along to get to this industry?
Okay.
Give me just a second. I want to make sure.
Absolutely.
I did not see the... Yeah, okay, we're good. Sorry about that.
Well, as I said before, we lived here in Arlington. I attended Washington Lee High School, which is now Washington Liberty School. And I graduated in my junior year. And my parents really didn't have the funds, or my mom at that time, because my father died when I was 9.
Okay.
Didn't have the funds to send me to college, so I was like, I think I better go get a job. And I started scratching around, and a good friend of mine said, hey, there's this optical place on Fairfax Drive called Mayflower Optical, and they're looking for a receptionist. And I went, oh, okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
And I went to work there, And about a year after that, my first boss, Buddy Paxton, who was a World War II Marine on Iwo Jima, the whole way, but he was just one of those spit and polish kind of guys.
Yeah.
Nice man. And he said, you know, he said, I think you should consider this field for a career. And I'm like, oh. Well, again, no scratch to go to school. And he said, well, let me see if I can get the boss to pay your tuition, which he managed to do. So I entered into, at that time, Virginia had a program, an apprenticeship program for opticians. They still do, but at that time an optometrist held class and created his own little optical school. It's called Northern Virginia School of Optics. So with a 3-year apprenticeship, it's hands-on combined with class interaction. And after 3 years, I was one of the first women to sit for the Virginia State Board.
Very cool.
So, now, here's a fun fact, and I'm going to have to read this because the younger women that I have taken care of here cannot believe ever that this happened.
We accept reading.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. Let me see if I can find it now. Oh, it's here somewhere. I know it is because I already typed it. Here we go. So, so you pass your board, and it's forever before you get the sheepskin in the mail. So my little tube came, and I was so excited because it really validated that the state decided I could do this. I open it up, and I read it, and the little part that got me was, no, you know, how they do, know all men by these presents, that Catherine Ann Giroux has given satisfactory evidence that he has the qualifications required by law regulating the practice of opticianry. So I thought, well, you know what? I'm not giving it back, so this is great. I can go with
you
this.
Just put an S on there.
No. So it was kind of funny because back, I guess it was the late 80s, the state reached out and they said, oh, Ms. Giroux, you know, we're so sorry. We realize you have the old license. Would you like the new non-gender specific? And I went, you know, no, I don't. And I said, and the reason is, at some point, I want to show this license, and it's going to be a document that just how sexism was so normalized and accepted. It was just part of the deal then. In fact, when I first started working with Mr. MacPherson, I would go out to take care of the patient, and they'd go, I want to see the man. And it's like, okay, well, I'm it today, so you'll just have to work with me. And it's funny how our profession has morphed into such a place that women now really are a more desirable hire.
Yeah.
Because of the fashion element of it.
What year was that you got that, by the way?
1975.
75. Okay. Wow, that's not that long ago. If we get a chance, or you can take a picture of that, or we can bring it so she can take a picture of it.
I would be happy to. Yeah, I should have brought it along, but it's funny because at that time, all of the people on the state board signed in a fountain pen. All the ink is faded out on it. It's just like...
Okay, so did you do any other jobs, like any other jobs, or just right into the industry?
Right into this industry. Well, I digress. I did kind of venture out for a little while and try the insurance industry. Didn't like that. Okay. And then in the early 80s, actually mid to late 80s, because I had already bought this place, I was accepted as an auxiliary police officer at the Fairfax County Police. And I tried that for a while and went, yeah, I'll just keep doing this.
Better hours.
Better hours, yeah. Less stress. Nobody pounding a gun at you.
Yeah, that's not good. Okay, so let's talk about you now got your license. Let's talk about that transition from you getting to this place.
So I got my license, and the firm that had so graciously put me through school, the owner was not willing to pay me the going rate. So I started shopping around, and that was less than stellar employment for me.
Yeah.
And then this business, Bill MacPherson, opened a business with a gentleman named Roy Rayburn. And at that time, again, everything was DC-centric. All of these businesses were there, and as the suburbs were starting to grow, they decided they would open a place together. So they did that until 1954, and Roy went his way, and Bill went his way. Roy Rayburn was up here in the Lee Harrison Shopping Center, and Bill was down in Clarendon. And there used to be a Sears in Clarendon, and he was right near the Sears. So old-time Arlingtonians will know that location. Well, then Mr. MacPherson got the word that the building he was in was going to be raised for the redevelopment that was going to start in Clarendon, and he came here.
Okay.
So here's these two guys, still good friends, no animosity about sharing space. There was plenty for everybody. At that point in time, there were 4 independent opticians. What an independent optician is someone who does not employ an eye doctor. And at that time, the Guild of Opticians frowned upon that because it was a very distinct conflict of interest. You should not prescribe and sell. So you keep those things in.
Yeah.
So I liked their business ethic, and they were getting up in years, both of them, and they needed somebody to come in and help part-time, which I did, and then cobbled out of full-time employment out of that. And then Mr. MacPherson approached me, and he said, how would you like to come with me full-time, because I'm getting ready to retire, and we could develop a partnership. I'll bring you in as a full partner. And I went, wow, that's cool. Yeah. And he was so kind, and he said, the first thing we're going to have to do is hyphenate the name, and it's going to be MacPherson, which everybody who walked in the door the first time always said Mr. MacPherson, which drove him nuts. He said, I'm Scottish, I'm not Irish. And then he said, well, hyphenate the name. And I said, oh gosh, Mr. Mac, I said, they butcher MacPherson. They are definitely going to tear my name up. So why don't we just keep your name? It's very thoughtful, and I'm flattered, but we don't need to go there.
Let's get the years on that. So when you started part-time, when was that approximately?
I got my license in 75, so it was probably like 77.
Okay, and then when you came as a partner...
Well, I came in, but wait, there's more.
Okay.
So I came on full-time, and that was probably 79-ish, probably pushing 80.
Okay.
And we started working together, and I'd been here about 6 months, and he was diagnosed with stage 4 esophageal cancer. And he lasted for about 6 months after that. So not wanting to push his widow or do anything like that, we just kept kind of clicking along for a couple more years, and then ultimately she sold it to me in 86.
86, okay.
Yeah.
It's a great story of like how you were able to just
I have
meet
been
some of the
so
right people.
incredibly blessed.
Yeah.
I've reached the gratitude years,
Good to hear. So is Bill MacPherson? MacPherson. Okay. So if we look that up, it's Bill MacPherson.
MacPherson.
Okay.
Yeah. And there was a William L. and a William R. And I can't remember which he was. I could probably dig back and
that's all right.
Some records. Yeah. But
it's
William MacPherson.
Okay. Okay, so correct. What was the year again that you bought out? 86?
I bought it June 13, 1986.
86. Okay.
Not that I forget that.
Okay. So then let's talk about the business. What are you known for? Who are your clientele, that type of thing.
Okay. We are known for, we built our business. I never really advertised. I take out a little thing in the high school yearbooks and stuff like that, but no, not really ever a big advertiser. To me, it felt like it cheapened things a little bit. So I relied on referrals from the area ophthalmologists and other clients. And what we are known for is we have not given up the old guild ethic of practicing opticianry. And it's very one-on-one. Jim, who's in the lab, joined me. He had a business out in Fairfax. He joined me in 1990. And he runs the lab, so everything is made here. We are all licensed, so we have a concept of what's going on, so we get the difficult prescriptions, and now that has morphed into people want unique eyewear, so they come here. Jackie has been awesome. I'm very conservative by nature, and I wasn't keeping up with the trends. Jackie was very helpful in transforming that side of the business. So we're just known that we do it right, and if we slip somehow, it's made right without any question or hesitation.
I mean, what is the percentage of any of these places that have labs? And I don't even hear about that anymore.
And we're unique in that we do not employ an optometrist or have an association with one in Virginia. There's some laws in place that make that you have to have a separate door policy, but there's usually a business connection that you can't get past.
That in itself is a pretty unique.
Well, and the other thing, Virginia is one of the few states in the country that's licensed. I think at one time there were 26, and they keep trying to get rid of that licensing here in Virginia because it costs a dime or two to hire a licensed optician. The big box stores don't want to do that. In Virginia, when I first started, the state would send an inspector around to make sure. The law requires that, one, licensed optician be on site at all times when you are interacting with a patient. I haven't seen an inspector in 30 years.
Yeah.
You know, they're just not enough manpower, not enough interest.
Yeah.
How many licenses do you have on? How many licenses do you have? No?
Oh, working here? Everybody except Amar, and he's an apprentice.
Oh, wow.
Is fully licensed.
How many is that?
There's Paul, Jim, Jackie, Diane, and she couldn't come in today. She works. We call her Diva. She works part time. And then Amar.
It's a 5.
Yeah. So yeah.
That's impressive.
Well.
And this is not something you share. You don't really advertise this, or
Oh yeah, we advertise
you do.
it.
Okay.
Well, if somebody wants to know our website, we advertise it on our website about who we are. If you go to our website, that kind of gives you a little sense of our ethic. When Washington Consumer Checkbook came along, that was pretty awesome. That was free advertising because that is a subscriber-driven review for product, and it's been wonderful. We have been rated their best in Arlington since, I think, 1997 when they started.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a long run.
Yeah. Like I said, blessed, fortunate.
So who are the clientele? Who are the people that come here? Is it locals? They come from all over?
It's locals. We get draw from D.C., D.C., Maryland not being licensed. And the ophthalmologists are now starting to see, as our profession has been more and more diluted over the years, the doctors are tired of people coming in saying, I got these glasses, your prescription is wrong. It's not the prescription, they just weren't made properly. So that's the clientele we get. I used to have Chief Justice William Rehnquist as a client. So he was my kind of star factor. We had, oh God, what's the name of the actor that wandered in here one day at? Oh, De Niro.
Robert De Niro?
Yeah, and he was visiting a friend here in Arlington, and apparently his glasses broke, and they said, go see MacPherson. And I was not here that day. Really messed up. But
where's the picture?
yeah, you know, and he was very, very, you know, can I come in the back there? I don't want to kind of do all that to you guys. So, yeah, so we just see a little bit of everything. We've taken care of embassy types, foreign service types. We take care of mom and dad. We have a large children's practice, pediatric practice.
Okay.
Nobody wants to do pediatric because it doesn't pay well, let's put it that way, but we love it. And I think once you start taking care of kids, the family follows. In fact, he just passed away sadly. I had a young guy that I took care of when I was in McLean. He was 4 years old, and he followed me into his 40s. So, you know, it's just that continuum of family care.
So you're getting multi-generational clients now?
Yeah.
Okay.
We got a little, everybody says, what's your age demographic? It's kind of, you know, it's like...
Whatever walks in the door.
Right, yeah, right.
Okay, so just walk me through a typical day here. What does that look like? I think I saw appointments only.
Yeah, and that was a silver lining of the pandemic.
Okay.
When the pandemic hit, that was probably the most challenging time of my career.
Okay.
We were closed for 3 months, and everybody thought, oh, you're getting a nice break. And no, we had to learn how to reopen safely, what would be required of our employees. I'm not afraid of vaccines. I'm a big believer in science, and so as we were getting to reopen, we had a team meeting, and one gal who had been with me 22 years is needle shy, and she said, I will not, if I have to get a vaccine, I'm out. And so I looked at everybody and said, who would be comfortable with that? So I lost her to that, and that was sad because she was a good gal.
You got to run a business though. At that point, I mean, you've got to run a business though. I mean,
well, yeah, and I want safety first.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you know. So when we reopened, we had to do it by appointment because we couldn't have X number of people in the shop, and we had to sanitize everything in between clients. We had to sanitize the frames, which is a good habit. We still do that. But but we found. Wow, this appointment thing is great because you can actually plan lunch, which is something I could not do up until that point of my career. So, and the clients love it because they don't have people sitting there, tapping their feet. They have their block of time, and we can answer any questions they have without hurrying them through stuff. So that's why we're doing appointment only. those in my industry are okay, you don't take insurance, you don't have an optometrist, and you're working by appointment, and yet you guys are doing okay. How do you do that? So that was very flattering.
Yeah.
You know.
How many people are working during the day? Is it the full staff?
It usually 3 to 4.
3 to 4.
Jim is always here. He's a constant.
Okay.
Jackie's always here. Amar is always here. Paul is here part-time. Diana's here part-time. They kind of share a full-time slot. So, you know, some days it's an abundance, some days it's a smaller staff.
Yep. Okay. When you started the business in '86, were there other people involved that are still with you, or were there?
No, I started by myself.
By yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Jim was my first hire. Because that was the other thing. At the time I bought the business, I thought, oh, this is going to be so lovely. Well, guess what? LensCrafters opened in Boston.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, well, you know, Pat, I'm glad you got a nice federal job because I'm going to be on the street. And Jim had his own practice out in Fairfax, and the chains were popping up around him, and he was getting smothered. So I said, okay, I hate lab work. You love lab work.
Yeah.
You're not real fond of the front, so
Perfect.
we've been together since 1990.
Okay. Talked about the original owners. Okay, let's talk about milestones in the business. So let's talk about maybe some of your favorite moments or things that changed in the neighborhood. Like, just tell me about things from '86 on. Do you remember? Are there big things that you remember? We talked about COVID a little bit, but any other?
Yeah, it was the decision. Okay, am I going to stay here, or am I going to become a multi-store thing?
Okay.
And I was in New York. We had a trade show. We still do. It's moved, but in New York every year. So I would go to the trade shows, and there was a speaker there who was a woman in California who had like 13 locations. And I thought, ooh, that'd be kind of cool. And as one does, if you're online for the ladies' room, she was standing in front of me, and I said, may I ask you a question? And she said, sure. I said, tell me about owning multiple locations. And she just looked at me very flatly and said, do you want a life?
Mm.
And she said, when you get beyond one, you lose all control of quality, you lose all control of everything. She said, and she said, and at the end of the day, you're not going to net much more. So
Oh, wow.
that made that decision, so then we decided to gut the place and bring it up to speed. So that was a huge thing, because we were closed for
A week.
at least, just for the rough stuff, I think it was more like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But we were able to survive that. And I think the other milestones are you get to a place where you feel, gosh, this is going to survive.
When did you feel that first?
We hit a significant sales number one year, and I thought, okay,
We could do this.
we can
Yeah.
do this, yeah. And
Did you see that with the sales number? Did you see the clientele build? Was there some momentum building
Once
there?
we redid the shop,
Okay.
that was a game changer. That was a game changer, and that, as a new business owner, that was a big decision because that was it just
Yeah.
had to be gutted down to the studs.
Okay.
That was very expensive to do, but man, did it pay for itself.
Well, and was this the 91 or was it before that? When did
No,
you
this
do?
is the 91. This you should have seen it before.
Oh, it looks great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, it's timeless, and I have to give a lot of credit to Pam. She went up to Philadelphia with me to the supplier and said, okay, let's go timeless. Let's not go in plastic chrome.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We had a lot
You don't want to scare your clients.
we had a lot of fun with it.
So Pam, how long have you been a part of the process?
Well, I've been with Kate for 44 years.
So the whole process.
The whole project. In fact, she is the one, I have to give Pam credit, Mrs. MacPherson was very Bostonian and very quick to flare and kind of a difficult gal. Her husband was a great intermediary. And Pam sat me down one day, she said, you're building this practice month by month by month, and you're going to have to buy it back if you don't just pull the trigger. I was frightened to buy it because, again, of all the changes my industry was going through. Then it was just big box stores. Just imagine how we felt when the internet started.
Yeah.
That was crazy making. So it was due to Pam. I would not have bought the place had it been not with her encouragement.
That's on film. We got it on film.
Thank you, Anna, but I have absolutely never doubted Kate's ability.
Thank you, kind. Thank you.
And her desire to serve well and to give high quality product.
Do you ever help out in the store too? Or
Oh, she used to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then when I was by myself, Pam worked for the Fish and Wildlife. She's a wildlife biologist
Okay.
by profession. And on federal holidays, she would come in and help me. And she said, well, what can I do? Just give me something to do. And I said, all right, see this Remmel's pair of glasses. And back in the day, we had to use these very long screws, little tiny screws
Yeah.
with nuts on them. And I gave her a pair of clipping pliers. I said, if you'll just sit there and clip those little screws off, that would be very helpful. And then I hear this, uh-oh. And I thought, what? And she had clipped the nose pad arm off as well as the screws. So I went, okay, well, how about some filing? Would you do that? That would be nice.
How are you at janitorial?
Yes.
Right.
Go scrub a toilet. Yeah, right.
My
Yeah, but
dad-
Pam was great. She answered the phone. My mother was still alive, so she'd come in and, boy, she got to do her secretarial thing, you know,
Oh, yeah.
file and make that, and buy office supplies, some of which I am sure we still have in the storeroom, you know, like 50 pounds of rubber bands. Wow, no, we don't need that.
So there is a little bit of a family part of this
Oh,
too.
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. Okay, what's changed in the neighborhood that you've seen, let's say in the last, well, let's start from the beginning. I mean, I'm sure there was an economic downturn in the DC area in the 70s, and then we went, you got the tech boom happened in the 90s. Like, just give me some ideas of what you've seen.
I think what's
change.
happened more is more commercialization. The demographic has very definitely changed.
In what way?
More tech presence,
Yeah.
the clientele, I would have to tell you probably the ones who are still working are working from home. Very few of them wander downtown anymore,
Yeah.
which has also been a boon.
Yeah.
For
Oh,
me.
that's helped you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but just the overall vibe, it's for those of us who are here when it was a sleepy little town,
Yeah.
it's a lot. And
Yeah.
traffic, of course, has gotten worse. And I think the county's focus has veered a little bit from the residential section and gotten more into the commercial section. That's just my guess.
You mean as far as development, they've
Yeah.
started focused on that? Yeah.
They're focused more on that than
And
preserving some of the older neighborhoods.
I've noticed that many people now long for the personal touch.
Yeah. I did the same thing. I went to a store like yours and changed probably before I had kids, just because I had got, I started going to Lynn's Crafters and stuff like that. And it's a whole different ballgame to go to an
Yeah.
independent. Yeah.
Yeah, and for our area, for the DMV, it's only different again because there's no regulation on this practice in DC or Maryland. So the sales reps come in, and we always started to take a front because we felt they were talking down to us. And we went, no, we understand the science, we understand that. Just tell us what's changed. And they went, wow, this is a whole different world in Virginia. Yeah, sorry, DC, Maryland.
Okay, so let's get back to you were talking about the county. They've been focusing more. Has that made changes in this area that you've seen? Like,
Not yet. They are. It's on the boards, and I
Okay.
haven't kept up with it because I said finally I had to step back. I'm going to be 70 this year, and
Yeah.
I thought 50 years of doing this was quite enough. So, but they're going to be redeveloping along here.
yeah,
So it's starting. It's starting down at Glebe Road, and it's just slowly.
yeah. Do you think that'll change this business if it does develop?
If you lose this location, yeah, definitely. I don't see how a small. This is still a mom and pop operation. It was one when I bought it, when I first started working for it. You cannot afford the rent that most people want now if you get out of something like this. You just can't. It doesn't make sense to do business.
Yeah. What was the reason? Let's talk about the reason you started here. Well, it sounded like you had an opportunity that you started here. But what was the reason you stayed? You said you could have opened multiple places, or you could have.
It was comfortable.
Okay.
It was comfortable. I liked the people. I liked the responsibility kept to them. I didn't want to lose my life to owning a business.
Yeah.
Because, and Pam would often get frustrated because there's a lot of, when you're not here, there's a lot, as you know, paperwork and everything else. So I was in my home office a lot.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to lose that balance. And also finding talented employees. I have been very lucky, and it's rare. It's tough. You talk to any optician and say, how are you on labor and staff? And they're pulling their hair out.
How do you do it? How do you find it?
Everybody's been with me for years.
Because they've been here
Jackie's
for so long.
been here 22 or 23 years. Diane's been here 25 too,
Okay.
since
Yeah.
1990. So Amar and Paul are the new additions, and Paul came in to help Jackie when I stepped back,
Okay.
as did Amar.
Kate won't tell you, but I will. She's an excellent leader, good businesswoman,
Oh.
and is fair.
You
Well-
are a good cheerleader.
She is a good cheer. Well, and I have to go. I have to kind of back to my first employer, who looked at me. He said, "You're never going to be happy working for somebody. I know that." And he said, "And I think get your license. That's going to open up a lot of opportunities for you.
Yeah.
But if you do what I think you're going to do, remember where you've been." And that was the best advice I ever got.
That's great advice, and
Yeah.
I think it shows here too.
Well,
I think
thank you.
that's yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, let's get back to changing in the neighborhood. We talked about the commercial area. We just changed the Langston Boulevard, and there's changes like that going on. Where do you see yourself? It sounds like you're stepping back a little bit.
Yeah.
Where do you see this shop in 10, 20 years?
I'd like to think it'll be here 10
Okay.
years from now.
Yeah.
And especially you shared with me that they're considering this to be some sort of a historic recognition. The new owner seems very content. He likes small businesses. He wants to keep them here, so that was his motivator to buy the building. So I think 10 years it'll be here.
That's good. That's good to hear.
Might have a lane of traffic right at the front door, I don't know, but
Let's hope not.
let's hope not, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was part of the Langston part, is they're trying to keep this more of a boulevard than a highway.
Well,
so
yeah,
we'll see
because
what happens.
you've got, I have a neighborhood right out my back door. And right behind these buildings are all single-family homes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're gonna push back on that, I think.
Okay, gentrification, has that caused any issues, or do you see anything?
No, if anything, it's hard on my older clients, because they have these lovely little World War II brick colonials.
Yeah.
And, you've got somebody right out of college that's pulling down $300,000 a year, and they're buying these tearing down these little houses and putting up these mega mansions.
Yeah.
So they are in the shadows of all this, So,
No.
but it has to happen. It's progress. We can't stay the way we used to be.
It has to happen. It doesn't have to happen that way, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the mixed message on any gentrification. You have to figure out there, you need more housing, but you want to keep the businesses, right? You want to keep the
Right.
core of what the community is about.
Right.
How would you define this community, like, that you're a part of?
That's a good question. Can I bring in my right hand?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll bring it in. You can
Right.
phone for an answer.
Jackie, I'm stuck. I need your help. No, not at all. I was asked.
Yes.
Describe our community that we're in.
You got to come and get in, or at least get close to the mic.
I'll think about it for a second.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, that's a tough question.
Let me get it out first and then I'll.
Well, while she's thinking about that, let me ask you another question. Why do you think long-lasting businesses, legacy businesses like yourself, are important to communities like this?
Well, I think a small business is like a safe harbor in a sea of mediocrity and really disinterest. A lot of people are in business to make a quick buck. They don't want to see you again. They don't care if they see you again.
Yeah.
They've got your money and they're out of here. So I feel the same way. I want my tailor, I want my hairstylist, I want an appliance dealer I can depend on. And Dabney's known for, somebody called him on Thanksgiving Day and said, "Oh my God, Dabney, my oven just broke." So he left his family, delivered the thing, and all was well. So that's why I think it's important to keep a small business in a
Yeah.
community.
Safe harbor is a great way to define it. I haven't heard that before, but I think that makes sense.
Yeah, well, that's why I always feel when I find somebody that knows. Pam and I built a house about 10 years ago, and it was so cool to interact with businesses. That people knew what they were doing. They didn't waste my time. They didn't waste her time. If we went, "Oh, we want that," they'd go, "No, you don't." And that's what we do. If somebody comes in and our biggest nemesis right now is Dr. Google. Well, this is what I want. And it's like, no, you don't, and here's why. And we have been known, we have said, I would rather you go buy your eyewear somewhere else than force me to make something for that it's just not gonna work.
Yeah, because
You're not gonna be happy.
Yeah.
And if you're not happy, I'm not gonna be happy, so let's call the whole thing off. Nice to meet you.
Are you ready, Jackie?
Yeah,
Okay.
so we are,
Describe the community, that was
the
good.
community has become, I think, an eclectic. We have people who've been here for 50-plus years, you know, who've lived here forever.
Mhm.
We have people who lived here when it was still segregated back there and didn't get any service.
Mhm.
We have people from all walks of life. So, you know, it can be, you know.
You never know what's coming in
You
the
never
door.
know, and we treat everyone the same.
What do you guys like about the community?
It's
not
real.
cookie cutter, it's real.
It's
Yeah,
real.
and
It's
that's,
not Clarendon. It's not all the same type of people who live in Clarendon.
Mhm.
It is just all over the map.
and that's the feel of Arlington that I have always liked. I met a gal at church last week, and we were just chatting, and she said, "Where are you from?" I said, "DC," and she said, "Me too." And that's a rarity. And there's just this certain feel about Arlington, you know each other when you see each other.
Yeah.
Oh, where did you grow up? Arlington, yeah, me too. So that's fun. And
Yeah.
when we have the new folks coming in, this is a very transitory area because of
Yep.
government, because of the military.
I was the same way. I was
Yeah.
here for 5 years and out.
Navy kid, you know, so, but most of our, you know, we may see a client for one time, but we have several who have moved, and they'll say, if I give you stuff, can you make eyewear for me? And we say,
Oh.
well, if we're still doing the same frame and the
Yeah.
same measurements, yeah.
And I get people who call, we've got lots of State Department people, so they're gone for a few years. Either they email me from there or they come back here and do fresh. So we're in contact for years. We have, I've got a kid who came here when she was maybe 4, now she's a pediatrician and she's got her own baby. We're not Warby Parker.
Yeah.
It's not, and we don't advertise, we are mostly referral, which is great. I just got a referral from an image consultant who's sending me one of her international clients, which is cool.
Yeah.
And I know her, I worked with her because of a client who worked with her, so I said, let me find out what this is about. She was great. So she trusts us now, she trusts me, and she sends, so I got this woman who says, oh, I'm here, I've never bought glasses in the United States before, so.
And for the aforementioned reasons, they're scared to death because they're
Well,
in the U.S.
yeah.
buying
Yeah.
glasses.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're
and-
not in Germany, they're not in France, they're not in Europe. The ethic there is very much like ours here.
Right, I grew up in Germany, and that is the only reason I'm working here and started, because this is what I would remember was like in Germany and in
Thank you.
France and in Switzerland, yes, and I've told lots of people, I just told this woman that actually.
That's probably comforting to her. I
Well,
imagine.
yes, because because otherwise, we're not on commission either here, so it's not a
Yeah.
race against one another. We all work together. Sometimes the entire store chimes in. Customers, I might be working with someone, what do you think? So that people don't feel pushed,
Yeah.
ever. Like Kate said, if it's just not working, I'll say, take a break.
Yeah.
Go home, come back.
Yeah.
Let it marinate.
Let
That's
it
one of our
marinate.
favorite
Yeah.
things. If people are just verklempt and they can't make up their mind, I said, let it marinate.
Yeah.
If you have a question, come back.
And it's fun. We make it fun. People say, "Oh my God, I was so scared. I hate buying glasses." And then they say, "Oh my God, this was fun."
Everybody's supposed to have a
You
good
don't
time.
hear that anymore, do you?
No,
Yeah.
because people come in and they are, so-called helped by someone who's a stylist.
Yeah.
Get 2, get 3, because I get more out of that here. And then we see, not all of them obviously, but we see many not adjusted, the prescriptions are wrong, they don't fit properly, period.
Yeah.
And it finally got
And,
to a point for us when the internet started selling eyewear. It would be ding dong, I got these online, can you make them right? And after a fashion, I said, we don't have a relationship with your glasses. We don't know what you're supposed to be doing. We don't have a relationship with you, and I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Work with your provider. We just had to cut it. I mean, that's an anathema to be in a customer service oriented business, but we had to draw the line somewhere.
I can imagine.
Because there's a liability involved
Yeah.
for us.
And it seems like they
Not
wouldn't
fair.
get much right when you're ordering over the internet.
No.
That's
Now, I did listen, there was a podcast on How I Made This on NPR a few
Mhm.
weeks ago with the Warby Boys again. They did one a few years ago. And this time, they were talking all about their, they're moving into AI, and they've got the stores, and they've got this, and the optometrists, and the customers. Not once was an optician mentioned.
Right.
Not
Oh,
one.
and that, if I can toggle off of that a little bit, Zeiss Optical is a well-known name.
Mhm.
And they came out with this fancy fitting machine. It was tens of thousands of dollars. And I said, well, let's see it. If it can do it better, then we can do it. I'm all for it. So we let them do their thing, and we looked at it. And the sales rep finally gave in. He said, well, you really should follow this up with manual measurements. And I was like, thank you. Thanks for coming. Bye.
Dog and pony show.
Yeah.
But it works with the millennials. I was actually with a friend of mine at the vet for an emergency visit for her dog, and by the time he was okay and we were leaving, I couldn't help myself but the two girls behind the counter. These awful glasses. And
We have been known
I
to.
just, it's like, well, yours is fine, but yours is just kind of down here, just,
It isn't what it should be.
It's not, but hey, but I have to give Warby Parker credit for fantastic advertising.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
those videos were really great. But, and a lot of people just don't know the difference.
Yeah, and I think that probably
So-
comes with the worse your eyes get as you get older. You probably
Yeah.
figure that out.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we can't be there for everybody, but,
Well, okay, any other things you wanted to add about the history, the story, anything else? Oh, you got a bunch of stuff. Let's see what didn't we
Let me
cover?
see
Sure.
here.
Got all sorts of stories.
Oh. What lessons have you learned?
Okay, what lessons have you learned? Actually, that was one of my questions. How did I miss that?
Aha! I did my homework. So I have a few. Stay in your professional lane.
Okay.
You hire a good lawyer and a good accountant. A great employee pays for themselves.
Mhm.
Never be taken in by looking at your bottom line first or following the advice of so-called business development folks. You've got to follow your own instinct for your business.
That's good advice, yeah.
And you'd asked, why didn't you advertise a lot? If you provide great service, quality product, and communicate very clearly, and this is significant, what the client can expect of you and what they can expect of what they are purchasing, everything else falls into place. And then surround yourself with people who possess the same professional ethics you do.
And can answer the tough questions.
And can answer the tough questions and give their glean. As a 70-year-old, my view of this community is going to be very different than hers. And if
It doesn't sound like it was that far off, though.
Huh?
It doesn't sound like it's that far off.
It's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
But the backbone, and I'd like to introduce him to you, if I may. He's
Yeah.
bashful. Jim Seitz has run our lab. He is the craftsman behind us. He is renowned as being the best optician in the area. There is nothing he can't do. His depth of knowledge is awe-inspiring. So if I could just introduce him real quick,
Okay.
I'd like to do that.
While she's gone, I will say too that this has become a destination place.
we are a destination.
Mr.
And
Seitz?
with
Can I
that,
steal
the
you for a minute,
ophthalmologists send the many difficult
Yeah.
prescriptions that need to be filled here.
Children
Actually,
and adults, but a lot of kids lately.
Hi, my
lot.
And so with that, this business is known for its science base.
Yeah.
And this is Mr. Science.
This is Jim. When I was hired as a baby receptionist,
Yep.
this guy was in the lab.
Have a seat, Jim.
We went to school together. We helped each other study, and I think there was usually a fair amount of adult beverages and pizzas involved with that.
I get right down here from the, what do they call that?
Steak and cheese? The pizza box.
Pizza box.
That's
That's it,
it,
yeah.
And where were you guys in school together?
Yeah.
Where was it?
Well, when we went to the Northern Virginia School,
Oh, okay.
Dr.
Gotcha.
Charles Cooperthwaite was our teacher and gave us, bar none, the best optical education you could have got because he was an optometrist. He wasn't another optician teacher.
And a natural born teacher.
Yeah.
He could teach anybody.
So could Jim.
And wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how'd you end up working with her? What was the transition from?
Well, through the years, she worked at a place, what was it, you started at Memco, did you ever do spec shop?
Mm-hmm. As I
Okay.
said, I had a few less than desirable employers
Yeah.
before I ended up here.
Our paths crossed,
Yeah.
a few times. And I had my business in Fairfax in the 80s, and Kate had bought this place in the
86.
80s. Yeah. And we got to talking one day because my business wasn't growing, hers was. And she made me an offer I didn't want to refuse, and I came here and been here ever since.
Yeah, it's not, you've been with her a long time. That's pretty
Since
impressive.
1990.
Yeah. What keeps you here?
I like what I do.
Yeah, that's
I
good.
love the people I do it with. You know, and people out here. The vast majority of our people are good people. We have a few that you'd like never see again, but you know, that's retail.
Yeah.
You know, but
Very few.
generally speaking, yeah, very few.
We're lucky.
We're blessed is what
We're
you're
really
saying.
lucky. We have a couple of wackos that we just know we're wackos and we know how to deal with them.
Yeah.
The other ones, you know,
Seems like they would, a different type of clientele might seek you out. Like, right, you're going to get, people are looking for this type of experience, I would think, you know, to get this kind of quality, I would
well, they're
imagine.
just surprised. Somehow they end up here, you know, and they're
Oh, they're
surprised.
doctors. They say, gee, where would you go?
Yeah.
You know, they'll say,
they're
go see
referrals,
XYZ. And
Yeah.
Well, Jim, it was a pleasure meeting you. Anything you'd like to say about the business?
It's the best that I think I've ever seen.
Wow.
no, thank
That's high
you.
praise.
And I've got a few years in,
Yeah.
since 1969 actually.
Wow.
So we do what we do well because we want to, and we care.
Yeah, we never want to, we have never, I was in a situation once where I had to dispense eyewear that I wasn't proud of.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't in charge. We have never had to dispense eyewear we're not proud of.
That says a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was asked one time by my employer to dispense a pair of glasses that I knew was not correct, and I quit.
Hmm. Well, that's why you're here, I suppose. Yeah.
So
We've done okay, kiddo, huh?
I think so.
Yeah, every now and then Jim and I look at each other and go, well, how did this happen?
Jim, how do you spell your last name?
SEITZ.
SEITZ. Okay, thank you very much. It was great meeting you.
It's a pleasure to meet you all.
Starting to get teary now.
Oh, don't
In a good
cry.
way. No,
Huh?
it's just pretty cool.
It was a great
It's
story,
just
yeah.
really cool.
I have a digital picture of myself as a baby optician, if you want that.
100%, yes.
Okay.
I'll get out of your way.
Thank you.
Did you have any questions you wanted to ask? Well, I think that's it for us. Unless she's got more on the sheet, we'll ask her if there's more she wanted to say. Stop that for a second.